up, everybody? Welcome to the Slammers podcast. I am Bo Garino, joined as usual by my co-host here, Ben Litt. It's the Philly Am week, Philly Am qualifying day we're actually recording on. I know we said we were going to do a little bit of an Am preview. I got to put this on you, Ben, this time. Usually it's me, my job getting in the way.
I know.
We had all scheduled this weekend to record, and, you know, the guy had a bail.
Accountability. Yeah, in lieu for this pseudo live show, if you will, today. Bringing the people this.
I wish this was live. This would be great. The problem is anybody who would listen is probably playing in the event, so we probably would be talking to ourselves. But yeah, so Philly Am week. I think we start off with the Am. Let's get right into it. We got a lot to cover.
Yeah, Philly golf's longest day.
Yeah. And it looks like they're going to... Is there thunderstorms this afternoon? I think there was.
I don't think so. Checking just the numerous models I have, I don't see.
Okay, so they'll get it in. They'll get it in. That's always the goal, right? It's just like this. Let's just get the qualifying in. It's never fun to have to bring guys back the next day to play a couple. That's a mess.
Yeah, I did that last year as a caddy. No fun.
Oh, you guys did have to go back to finish.
Yeah, we did. We had to play 14 holes at Huntington last year.
Oh, wow. It was that big of a delay.
And then they flipped into match play. So some guys had to play 36 holes of match play plus an extra
10 holes or 15. Yeah, wow. That's a long day.
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully they get all 36 in today. I mean, we're looking at the leaderboard right now. We're recording this at 12:30. Nobody's really tearing anything up. It's just such a log jam, right? I mean, so many 2-unders. You got some 1-unders, evens. It looks to me at this point in time, and we'll see how wrong I am in 4 hours from now, but it looks like to me 3 over is probably going to be the cut.
Okay.
Right?
So, yeah, I guess we have a lot of people almost finished, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the first wave.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, what do we have? Yeah. 1 over. I like 3 over. Yeah,
like to me,
3 over is a playoff.
Well, to me, I think 3 over. I think 3 over is guaranteed a playoff spot.
Yeah,
and maybe and maybe you'll get a 10 for 2 at 4 over, right? Yeah, I think that's kind of where I stand. And it looks like 5 is definitely. I think we'll definitely be out with this larger number of guys that at 3 or better through 18.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like there's a huge disparity on difficulty, which is interesting, right? It doesn't look like it's not like everyone's going out to North Hills and tearing it up and then giving some back at White Marsh. It seems like the scores are fairly even just by looking at the leaderboard. What does the statistics say?
Yeah, I mean, we're just looking at the leaderboard here. It looks like there's, like you said, a log jam at 2 under right now. Some guys are in the middle of their round. Some guys have posted. William Davenport, who made it deeper in the 4-ball. John Rusk at Alulu. They've posted 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a whole host of guys behind them still out on the golf course working on their first rounds. Yeah, there's four of the 7 at 2 are from White Marsh, played at White Marsh today, and the other 3 were at North Hills. But let's take a look at least at the morning wave scoring averages. So it looks like as far as North Hills goes.
Yeah, I was going to say I got it pulled up. It looks like White Marsh is playing about a half a shot easier.
Okay. That's very surprising to me.
So, yeah, White Marsh is at a 76.97.
Okay.
And North Hills is at, and it's a par 72, right? So roughly 5 shots over par. And then North Hills is playing at a par 71 and a 76.5.
So,
about a half a shot harder, which
that's surprising.
Yeah, it's surprising, right? I mean, I've never played North Hills. You would just think the 6,400-yard course would be playing a little bit easier than the more championship venue out at White Marsh.
Yeah, I weirdly have a lot of experience at North Hills. We played it a bunch in high school golf matches.
Mm-hmm.
I played it again in that team championship. I played it again in that 4-man team that we collected Gap Hardware in 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very much, it's not a hard golf course. Like you could have sold me that it was like maybe a little bit of Don Ross, a little bit like no real bad holes, but no real holes that stand out and stand alone as really championship golf holes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's way too many trees out there too that they could really chop down and improve some of the sightlines a little bit better. But every time that I've played there the last couple of times, you can really see that conditions can dictate the score out there. If it's firm, which I would imagine they're probably firm today. We haven't had that much rain up here in the Northeast. it's really an angles game out there. There's so many pins and so many holes out there with canted fairways where stuff is going to bound in the rough and you don't really have the angle of the rough. You can't stop it. It's like you kind of lose a little bit of control out there. You're kind of skidding on the tires around there. So I mean, I would venture to say, based on the scoring averages, it's firm out there, and some of the guys are probably struggling to control their second shots from the fairways.
Yeah, and I think the analytics back that statement, because I see a 162-yard hole with one birdie on it,
Well,
the seventh hole.
that's really a straightforward hole. So
Yeah, it must just be. We have maybe a front pin to a concrete green where guys are just bouncing along. I don't know. I mean,
so yeah, it is weird. With some of their greens are inconsistent out there. That was like a newly constructed green, which is just like a total pool table.
yeah,
And I mean, the Gap hasn't posted the pins, but if I had to guess, gun to head, it's front right over that bunker on the right side.
and people are just putting from 30 feet all day.
Yeah, and it's one of those greens that's really random and moguly that you can't really
get it. Yeah, it's just a hard one to get a confident line on. It sounds like.
Yeah, you're not making too many 25-footers there. And again, it's one of those that kind of sits low and there's some trees, so the green is a little bit thinner. I think the quality of grass is a little bit worse down there.
Yeah, not as much airflow.
No, definitely not much airflow down there. Can get a little wet.
And then 9 only has one birdie, 190-yard par 3. 17 and 18 and 14 also only have one birdie. I mean, for the quality of field that we have here, I mean, for any hole to only have one birdie out of I know only half the field's going through there. Maybe not even, right? Because we're not completely done the morning wave. But
right.
You're looking at, 70 guys have probably played it so far? 65 guys and only one birdie. I mean, that's really...
Well, 14 is really hard.
Yeah.
14 just like one of those, like, it's still a driving range hole, right? There's not like
trouble,
like stakes and immediate trouble, right? But it's just like a long golf hole that you really have to step up and
par 3.
Par 3.
Yeah.
Whether probably playing around 210. Right?
Yeah, 202. Tell me about 18 a little bit. At 348, only having one birdie.
Yeah, 18. I would say 18 on the whole is bad. Like a bad golf hole. It's very much an iron wedge that you kind of go up back to the clubhouse, and the fairway is very severely sloped uphill, right? So it's a really goofy second shot. You're kind of hitting this like probably a gap wedge or a sand wedge, 90-yard, 100-yard shot off just like a straight upslope.
Okay.
And the green is a parking lot. It's totally
hard to stuff the pinata there.
I mean, it resonated with me. Remember back 3 years ago when I was really flipping and spinning? I couldn't even hold that green from the fairway from an uphill lie. And with like a full 56-degree wedge, would just land and roll to the back.
Yeah, and you could zip a ball back off the green anywhere.
Absolutely,
I would think. I've never seen a course that's too firm for you not to put a little back in that time period.
Right. I mean, I would love to hear some reports from the grounds, at least from the guys after. But the only way you fuck up that hole is just hitting one left in the shit with an iron. But again, that's a really bad miss because you're only hitting iron off the hole. You're not really like. There's no real incentive to hit driver. I just imagine a bunch of guys are making maybe sloppy bogeys on the back edge or the rough over the green. Yeah,
it's playing as the hardest hole right now.
That's really surprising.
At North Hills, one birdie, 8 doubles, a few others, 4 others. It actually leads the whole tournament in others. So yeah, triple plus is there. I guess not much else to add there. I would say that I don't know anything about North Hills. I don't even know who designed this place. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, so John Franklin Meehan. He designed it, I think, in the early 1900s. And then Hugh Wilson did a reno in 1916.
Okay, Hugh had his fingers on that place at one point.
Yeah. You can tell it's okay. But again, if we want to just dig a little bit deeper here into Meehan's game, Meehan's work here.
I know, I've literally have never even heard the name.
Yeah, so just to bring you up to speed here, he's designed Berwick Golf Club, North Hills, obviously, Paxson Hollow Golf Club, the public track in Media, and Sandy Run.
Man.
Not a very compelling portfolio. Honestly, akin to the Jim Cramer stock portfolio more than anything of a gold chip variety. So very uninspiring list if I had to have...
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah. That's a really sad list. I mean, when Sandy Run's arguably your best piece of work, I never played North Hills. So what's better, North Hills or Sandy Run?
North Hills.
Okay, so North Hills is
Sandy.
No, Sandy's horrible. No, Sandy's horrible, yeah. You just didn't seem like you were too high on North Hills either. So
No, I think North Hills is fine. Again, I think the course is, when it plays firm, it's like, I would say it's like an Indian Valley.
okay,
Where it can come alive, but again, there's really not a lot of technically great.
If you went out there with a camera, it's hard to really pick a hole to even photograph. Like at Indian Valley, like you wouldn't even know what hole to go
Absolutely.
out to.
Yeah,
right.
It's fun when it's firm. Other than that, it's
forgettable.
And it's only 64.50 from the back tees. So again, with a bunch of the college kids and just the length and the strength of field in the M, I'm surprised those guys aren't ripping it.
At least one or two guys, right, who's just driving the ball incredible and just, whatever.
Right. And again, like North Hills is not like, you see 6,400, but it's not like the golf course doesn't take driver out of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are only a few holes, like 18 and I think the 15th hole in the back, that short par 4. No, I'm sorry, 16.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's really dry.
Bombs away.
You can hit driver.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are trees, but I mean, if you're a good driver of the golf ball, no reason it's not a Commonwealth.
Right.
Right. Like it's all just external out of bounds.
Right.
Right. Out of bounds is going to be
just avoid the property line. Yeah, you're good. Yeah. Just
so,
kind of wraps around.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to the championship venue, White Marsh Valley. Looking at the scores here, like we said, just a shade under 5 over right now through the morning wave. 76.92, dropped a little bit since we spoke about 5 minutes ago. I do know White Marsh well. I've played there a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the greens are rolling really good. I've never had the luxury of playing that place when it was in great shape, even though I've been out there for member guests, which is weird. Like you would think you would see that. I mean, at least how we're raised, at Riverton, if you want the putt good greens, you have to play in the member guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to do so, oftentimes, or at least to see the place in ideal condition. Not the case at White Marsh. I played in some member guests there. The greens are pretty benign, I thought. So 10.5 soft.
Yeah.
But I heard they're rolling today. Yeah, looking at some of the scores here, it's funny. Like this always jumps out at me. Like that 17th hole is a 484 par 5, right? And there's 5 eagles there, right? And then you have 18 as a 466 par 4 and 0 birdies. The 17th hole is playing almost a half a shot easier than 18.
Yeah,
right. It's like the par. Throw the pars out the window there, right? I'm saying you put those two holes together, it's a par 9. Right?
Yeah, it's 17, 18 are par 9. Yeah.
But it's funny how I always thought that 17th is just a much better, even though it's just a number on a scorecard. I always thought it was like a really strong 4 and like a bad 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely have a few of those in the gap that we could pick take issue with.
But it's as simple as just changing the par. The green, like everything's fine for a par 4.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's not like you have to the greens too. Sometimes you get those holes that are 480 and the green's a postage stamp and you can't run it up and you're like, we can't play this as a 4.
Yeah.
Or without blowing up the green. But I always thought 17 there, would be a fine 4. Where do we want to start breaking down White Marsh here? We want to talk about some of the.
I mean, if we're staying on scores here, I just want to stay on scores for a second. There were 2 others on the first hole.
I saw that.
What's going on?
Yeah, I saw the same thing, and that's funny you say that because up until now it's just refreshed, but that they actually led the others on the whole course. And I'm thinking that's the last hole. Like it's like the most nothing hole in the world.
Hole.
Oh my god, I love it. It's a great starting hole.
It's like, gets you off the bus easy.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
you can hit whatever you want there. And even the green, there's nothing to really fear there.
No.
The worst thing you can see making there is a bogey.
Yeah.
Like a bad bogey where you hit it in the fairway bunker and you kind of chunk it out and whatever, put it on a 2-putt.
Yeah, the second hole is much, much harder, and right now they're playing the same scoring average as basically.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's so nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, if we want to go back kind of to White Marsh as a whole, it's a George C. Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Guy also has LACC in the portfolio, among others, right? So obviously he knows his stuff, right?
Bel Air, yeah, he's got some good ones. Riviera,
yeah, he's done some damage out on the West Coast.
This was his first course he ever built, though. This was his family farm, and this is where he really got his feet wet, which is pretty cool to have a prominent West Coast architect. His only really course in the Northeast is in Philly, and it was his first course.
Right.
He did one other 9-hole course up in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Right near Catanset,
Okay.
right at the beginning of the Cape. But it's like it's supposedly the bones of it are good, but it's just like a little rinky dink 9-hole course now. But I think for the most part, White Marsh is all he's really done, in this region.
So he's very intimate with the land. He knew the land well.
Yeah, he grew up on it, and I think overall it's a pretty good course. I mean, we certainly have some gripes about it. Looking at the scores too, I'm surprised this hole's playing this. I don't want to say easy, right? Because it's a very hard hole, but it looks like it's playing a lot easier than expected. Is that fourth hole? They have it listed at 241. To me, if we were doing what would be the hardest hole of the day at White Marsh, I would think that the holes that come to mind are like 18 and 4. Really, the two holes that come right to mind.
Yeah.
At 1 and 2, I'm shocked that 4 is the 5th ranked hole right now. It's only playing less than a half a shot over par. Right? That hole has 3.5 written all over it, right?
I know.
It just to me at 241. Sometimes you wonder they listed at 241 and they moved the tee up because of the wind or something. I have a hard time believing if that's at 241, it's only playing 0.4 shots over par.
Yeah, because that's right in like the dead zone for most guys' games, right? Is it a wood? Is it a long iron? Is it a driving iron? A hybrid? It's like kind of in that dead zone where you really don't have a shot for something.
Yeah,
like that.
No one's stepping up and being like, it's just like, give me my, it's definitely a 2 club in your hand jostling around. Like, what do we hit here, right?
Yeah.
How do we want to take this hole on? I look at 4. I really hate that hole for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons I hate it is the tee box points you way to the right. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Like, it's already a hard enough hole.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're putting a 240 club in my hand, and then you're pointing me 70 yards right at the pin.
Yeah.
It's pointing you up over in the jungle down there, right?
Right.
Where the river, kind of meanders around back there.
Where Curious George is swinging around in the vines back there.
Right. That onto your Curious George line. I mean, that back there, it just, not only is the hole to me bad, but then just the surrounding of it's bad, and it just all kind of just weighs on you to be like, this is a hard and just really bad golf hole.
Yeah,
because there's nowhere to miss it around the green. That's the thing I don't like about the hole either. If it's a 240 hole, it's too heavily bunkered. They need to take one side and make it a runoff there.
Right,
it's too much. There's no bailout, and it's just not a fun golf hole. And it seems to me every time I've played there, there's always some kind of crosswind going on there. It's never like it's dead down or dead into.
Yep.
I can stomach that, but when you start getting 240, the tee's pointing you to the right, the wind's coming off the left, and you're just like, "What? This is too hard."
Yeah, and like we've kind of intimated with the jungle vibe, it's very low and wet back there, especially the third green as well. That can relate wet. So it's not like the balls are careening and bouncing forward onto that green, right? It's not.
It's a carry type of shot.
It's all aerial there, brother. Which I don't think many guys. We'll get to a Union League national hole later about long par 3s, but yeah, this is a tough one. And the depth perception's all weird with the jungle behind the green, bad vibe, all in. You normally like to see kind of some better perspective and stuff like that with contrasting depth with a long hole like that, but yeah, this doesn't really provide any of that.
No. And getting into some of the important holes that we're going to see in match play in the next few days, I think that kind of starts the stretch of it for me, right? 4 through, I would say 8, is I feel like where a lot of matches can have a lot of volatility.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the other holes are very, like, you'll see, there's a lot of holes out there that are, like, in match play, chances are a guy who's playing well isn't going to bogey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you kind of assume, like, 1 and 2, right? Guys playing well, you're going to have to make birdie to win those holes, you assume, right?
Right.
3, same way, right? Par 5, like, you're thinking, like, you're not going to win. Like, it's going to be par better as the better players emerge to the top. But once you get through 4 through 8, it's kind of like anything really goes on those holes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because, 3, like, if you're even through 3, you should not be expected to be winning or tied in any of these matches, right? And I think we could find fault with both of the par 5s in the front. I don't think we're too big a fan of 3, or at least I'm not. Just with the risk reward profiles all off.
No, 3 should be an excellent golf hole. The bones are there and it just stinks.
Yeah.
It really stinks in its current state, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just the way it's bunkered, the way that tree guards the right corner, the fairway's too narrow, the way the green's angled, like everything's off, right?
And it's too soft up there just in
The
general.
only way you can really get there in two is to bang it up the left side, right? And like when I say up the left side, you have like a 5-yard window to bang it up into,
Right.
Because if you're in the rough, it's too thick, you can't carry the water, you're going to have to lay up, right? And if you go in that bunker, you're dead on the left too, right? Like to me, that bunker should be out on the left, right? And there should be a little more fairway over there. So if you do bang it up, because it's not an easy shot, it's 564 the hole, right?
Yeah, let the guy blow it up there.
But I'm saying if you had a 300-yard drive, right, you still have 250 into a green that's well guarded, right?
Yeah.
Give me the shot. Like
Yeah.
like that's one of the better shots on the course, right? You know?
Yeah, I'd agree.
But no one really ever gets it because it's like and it's one of those too that it doesn't make you think on your layup at all in the sense of like, okay, I'm in the rough, like I'm just gonna chunk an 8 or 7 iron up there and wedge on. There's no thought, right?
Yeah.
The layup's very bad. The only guard on the layup there is that tree on the right, which once again is just bad.
It's hokey.
Yeah, it's very hokey, but it shouldn't be. It's 570. It's a well guarded green. Give me somewhere to drive it. Give me that second shot. You know, that heroic second shot if I want it, right? And you know, I think it would be a good hole, but. Yeah, it's current state. I don't like it. 5 is just, I mean, to me, that's something like 3 could be debatable. I could see someone saying, oh, I don't mind 3 or I like 3.
Yeah.
If you like 5, then I don't, you know, that's one of those that's just, we're probably not going to agree on much from an architectural standpoint because that hole really, really stinks in my opinion.
Yeah. So we have the range right, OB right, and then the jungle left, right? And so it's kind of, you're just slotted in between those two.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's really not much of a it's a nothing hole. It's not very memorable.
Terrible green too. I think they finally redid it though. I haven't played it since they
With
redid
a little
it.
bit more runoff action.
Yeah, but
more
the
shot
shape
options.
of the green was always just didn't fit the course. I think over the years they've redone it a couple times. Like it wasn't a George C. original, and just bad rework. And yeah, it's a bad hole because, and this is where I think 4 and 5 are bad, and I think actually really the whole stretch is bad over there. 3 green, 4 or 5, because you have this natural hazard, right? Like a running hazard that runs through it, but it doesn't really come into play on any shots. You know, like it's just not utilized effectively, right?
Right.
Whereas like if that 4th green was pushed up against the left side of that hazard, the one that runs the left, right, and was a shorter hole, it would be a much better golf hole than a 240 that plays directly into the heart of the jungle, right? 5 with the dog leg, right? If the green was pitched more onto the, you know, peninsula, more onto the water, right? On the left there, it'd be, you know, just bring that more into play. Like, it does, like 5 has one of the best natural hazards on the course, but it doesn't really come into play, or is not visually appealing, right? So it just feels bad back there.
Yeah, and it almost feels like 2 ended up being 241 just because the trees, that was where the trees ended up. Or if
4 you mean?
Right, like he felt like, I felt like he only made it that long just because he had that space.
That's the property he had. Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't like,
yeah, there was no thought behind
I
it.
came up with this 240 hole by myself and like, oh look, the property allows me to do so.
Yeah, it's like,
just seemed
let's just stretch it. Let's stretch it.
Yeah. The one hole that I'm curious in match play is if they put the tee up on 6, maybe a little bit of a drivable action. Just because I know some of those, like the green is interesting, and some of the bunker shots that you can get in there, or a little bit of roll of the dice, can get very, very fun. Or it's kind of a roll of the dice if you try to blow it up there. And
the only reason they may not do that is because you can kill somebody on the 9th tee.
right,
I mean, you send one screaming over there, you can really
yeah.
That's well within range. But I agree, that would be really fun because it kind of turns into a short game contest. And if you trick out that pin, which is arguably the hardest green on the course, from what I remember in my few times playing there, you could trick that out and make that a really fun, like a pitch and putt kind of hole, right?
Yeah,
a drive and pitch hole.
Because I love a back pin on that hole. Well, you might
bring in the 9
on the 9th tee, but like that, the chip from above the hole is just so dead. So you're just totally disincentivizing guys kind of really trying to push it past the pin. Yeah. But if you're in one of those front bunkers, the long bunker shot to the back pin is very challenging as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
I think it provides a lot of options.
I agree with that. The move the tee up, put the pin back.
Yeah.
And maybe put like a little net up there where the guys are teeing off on 9.
Yeah.
Have Kirby string a net up there for the match play. Yeah, so like I said, I think that's pivotal stretch of the course, 4 through 8. And then if we move into the back 9, right? What are some holes that you see like if we agree that 4-3-8's a pivotal stretch, what do we see like on the back nine as like pivotal hole?
I think 16 and 17.
Mm-hmm.
I think 16 is just like one of those, like, it's more visually challenging than actually demanding.
Easy to bogey that hole, I think.
Yeah.
Very easy to bogey.
Yeah.
Especially with a little pressure on you, right? It's easy just to hit like a wonky, because that hole plays, when I've played there, I think the prevailing wind is into on that hole.
It is.
If they tip it out uphill, I've actually remember hitting like a 6-iron into that hole.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
you know, you put a 6-iron in a guy's hand with a little pressure on, it's pretty easy to miss that green.
And it looks narrow up there, too.
Tough green, too. If
Yeah.
you miss it in the wrong spot, you can put, it's one of the few out there where you can miss it in the wrong spot and have no chance of getting up and down.
I agree. And I mean, yeah, I think that stretch from 15, 16, 17, 15 being that like medium-sized par 4, and then the par 3, and then into the gettable par 5. If you go like 4-2-4 there, par birdie, I feel like you can really erase a deficit there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Where a guy that's really he's really trying to steer it and kind of holding on to this lead can just make a couple pars or maybe a bogey and then par 17.
Yeah,
par 5,
right.
It feels like there could be like some pivotal, some loud 3s and 4s on 17 to take it to 18.
And on the flip side, when you have two guys who aren't white knuckling and really just rearing down the stretch, right? You can see some eagles on 17.
Absolutely.
Like you will see some. So
Yeah.
that's what makes it fun too.
Yeah.
You're going to be, you know, you would think two guys playing well, they're going to both have a shot at the eagle there.
Yeah.
And then 18 once again, kind of a holding on for dear life in the sense of you're not really worried about making a double, but it's just such an easy hole to bogey.
Yeah, I think it's good in that regard for match play. If you're one down, you can make par easily win the hole and take it to extras.
Yeah, it really is deflating when you're one down on a hole that you just know you're going to have to make birdie on to win.
I know.
Right? When you have that just handshake finishing hole where you're like, unless I just do something crazy here, this match is over. It's nice to be able to just be, like you said, just kind of let's just see how this plays out. Right? Let the course kind of dictate the score a bit here.
Yep.
All right, so we talked about the course. Let's talk a little bit about the players. Without a doubt, right, the Philly Am is always the strongest amateur field we get, right, for an amateur event. It's so hard to pick a winner. I mean, it's almost akin to, you know, picking a March Madness bracket, right? And like once this all shakes out, it's like really anybody, it feels like anybody can win, right? Unless you're really under the ropes and seeing how guys are feeling and playing, you really have no idea what's going to happen, right? Looking at just some of these guys who look like they're going to make match play, is there anybody that really sticks out as somebody that really has a chance at winning this whole thing, or really you feel maybe would be a favorite at winning the whole thing?
I mean, feels like low-hanging fruit, but Will Davenport could easily home cooking.
Just came off that 4-ball semifinal.
Yeah,
4-ball.
he's at his home course playing match play. When you just got to beat one guy every day, every match.
Yeah,
that feels like it. The vision becomes very clear, right, for a guy like that. Like he just, I don't know. That feels chalky to me. I think John Russ could throw his hat in the ring. You know.
Yeah, he made the Final Four a couple of years ago at Cricket Club.
Was that cricket or Philly Country?
Oh, I'm sorry, Philly Country. Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
I got the 3 Lulu guys in that Final Four.
Jeff Cunningham and Michael Brown.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's so hard to say. I just figured if anyone stood out to you, I agree with Davenport. By the time we release this episode, he'll probably have already lost. So we're recording now. I don't know when I'm going to get to edit this and post this, but yeah. We'll. I agree with that. If you were hanging some numbers, right, it would obviously nobody's going to be a large favorite, but you have a few guys that probably shake out in that +400 to 500 range, right, to win it all.
Yeah, that even feels short for just how crazy this tournament can get, right?
I know. Maybe even plus 500.
And you go down the leaderboard too around. I mean, it looks like the projected cut right now as we record at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is 1 over. I think we both said it was going to be 3, but we got guys like Michael Brown at 1 over lurking, Andy Butler at even lurking, Dave Meck at even, Matt Matare. I mean, these guys just have terrible intentions, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, there's no trophy for shooting 6 under and getting the medalist, right? Because you could still draw just a really bad matchup in round 1.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the problem with this. You almost feel like in the history of these events, and even in sometimes in the USGA stuff the same way, where like you said, there's really no prize for getting that number one seed, and you can just the split, the percentage is probably a lot tighter than you would think of that 32 versus the one.
Right.
As far as like maybe the one wins 60% of the time, right? Maybe a little more, maybe low 60s if I had to guess, but it's not like a 7 or 8 out of 10 usually.
Yeah, and keep me honest here, because Troy was the medalist last year at Huntington, right?
He lost the first round.
And he had to play Brown in the first round.
No,
right?
no, he played Itzwan. He lost.
He played Itzwan in the first round.
Who got in a
Perfect
playoff?
example,
Yeah, and
right?
just got. I think Itzwan was like 5 under or something.
Yeah,
and just crushed him like 4 and 3.
Hopped
Yeah,
right in the microwave and took it all the way to the final, right?
yep.
You just want to get in the dance.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying for the last 15 years. We
Yeah.
can't even get into the can't even get into the doors, let alone the dance floor.
Yeah, we can't even get tickets. No, we're sitting out there scalping on the
We're, sit- well,
5 minutes before tip. Can't
we're
even
sitting
get
out
a ticket.
here. We're sitting here talking about it.
So honestly, as we're reporting right now, guys are probably in transit to their next course, right? So we were taking a look at, it looks like Google Maps is telling me right now, 13 minutes in between North Hills and White Marsh Valley. A lot of golf up there, like we've said. If the Philly police, the Flowertown police, Glenside police, whatever, if they're in tune with what's going on up there, I think they're setting a speed trap up there on either 309 or 73. They could really make some hay up there, because I know we chronicled a caddy last year getting banged with a speeding ticket, 40 and a 25. So I think the blue could make some hay today.
Get your FOP cards ready.
Yeah.
Have them handy, right?
Well,
make sure they're signed, right? Like just
Right.
have
Authorized.
have your ducks in a row, because you got to have, if you do get pulled over, it's got to be a quick transaction.
Yeah.
You can't be fumbling around for your registration, and you gotta say, dude, I got about 5 minutes to get to wiggle room here.
Well, and it is the beginning of the month too, so the quota really hasn't gotten there yet. So
Right.
maybe the fuzz doesn't want to really knock a few too many guys, but just be on the lookout for stuff like that.
When we first went into this, we were planning on doing one episode, but let's just cut it short. We'll release this, and that way it's still relevant.
Yeah.
If someone wants to listen to it tonight or tomorrow morning, we'll just get that out there. And yeah, that's it for this AM episode. We're gonna keep recording here, and we'll release another one talking about some other current events shortly.
Yeah, thanks guys.